Alright, this chapter turns from a simple academy argument into a full public execution scene. And the funniest part is Liu Mu thought calling the crown prince would save him, but instead he got himself beaten in front of the whole academy. We continue right where Liu Mu attacks Yi Ziking. Spirit energy collides, the whip strikes against the black claw, and both of them step back at the same time. Liu Mu retreats 3 steps, face full of shock. Yi Ziking is only Spirit C 5th level, yet she blocked his attack even though he is 7th level. On the other side, Yi Ziking's face also turns pale. She only broke through recently, and she just switched from sword to whip, so her control is not perfect yet. This clash, she still took a small loss. But even so, everyone watching is stunned. Between Spirit C levels, every level difference means a huge gap. 2 levels apart should be crushing, yet she still held her ground. Right when Liu Mu wants to attack again, a loud shout explodes like thunder. What are you all doing? Armor sounds fill the air. Rows of soldiers rush forward in formation, kill and aura spreading across the entrance of the academy. Everyone turns. A carriage stops. A young man in silver robe steps down, crown shining on his head. The moment people see that crown, faces change instantly. Crown Prince, may you. In one moment, everyone kneels. All students, all guards, all nobles. Only 3 people still standing. Qin Chen, Qin I, Yi Ziking. Liu Mu secretly smiles when he sees that. Now they are finished. Disrespecting the crown prince is a bigger crime than fighting. He immediately steps forward and bows, introducing himself as a member of the Liu family, then complains that Yi Ziking bullied Liu Yuan and ignored the law of the empire. He asks the crown prince to make a fair judgment. He even lowers his head deeply, but the corner of his mouth is smiling. This time, even Yi Ziking cannot escape. The Yi family is strong, but everything they have comes from the emperor. And the man standing here is the future emperor. Mingyu nods slowly and says he will handle it fairly. Then he turns to the commander beside him. Take those 3, beat them 100 times. The moment those words come out, Liu Mu almost laughs out loud. Verdict, completely finished. But the next second, 2 hands grab him from behind. He freezes. Wait, something feels wrong. He looks up. Mingyu is staring at him coldly, and says one more sentence. Also send a message to Liu Hanyu. Ask him if the Liu family has been local tyrants too long, raising useless trash who think the sky is beneath their feet. Liu Mu's brain goes blank. He, Liu Jing, and Liu Yuan are dragged away directly. He still cannot understand what happened. Why is he the one being punished? Even Liu Zhanshan standing nearby is confused. The crown prince is helping Yi Ziking? Or something else? Then the sticks fall. Not normal sticks. Spirit rods. Every strike tears flesh. 2, 3, screams echo across the entrance. Liu Mu, Liu Jing, and Liu Yuan rolling on the ground, skin broken, blood everywhere. People watching feel their backs turn cold, because the crown prince is not just punishing them. He is making an example, and while everyone's still shocked, Mingyu walks toward Qin Chen. Everyone holds their breath, because now it makes no sense anymore. The crown prince stops in front of him, bows slightly, and asks politely, Young Master Qin, are you alright? The entire crowd freezes, not because of the punishment, because of that one sentence. Young Master Qin, Liu Zhanshan almost drops to the ground. So the crown prince didn't act for Yi Ziking, he acted for him. Qin Chen waves his hand casually and says he's fine, then asks Liu Zhanshan if he can go inside now. Liu Zhanshan nods like a machine. Yes, please. Qin Chen walks through the gate without even looking back. Behind the gate, the huge square of Heavenly God Academy appears, with a giant arena in the center and 4 massive stone pillars rising to the sky. Mingyu walks behind him respectfully and explains those are the 4 saint pillars, built by the founder Tan Qingshi himself, symbol of the academy. Qin Chen looks at them quietly, then nods. Still there. Not bad. Alright, this chapter is more about attitude than action. But the funny part is everyone around still doesn't understand why the crown prince treats Qin Chen like a teacher instead of a student. And the more Mingyu respects him, the more confused everyone else becomes. After entering Heavenly God Academy, Qin Chen suddenly turns around and looks at Mingyu, then says something that sounds simple but hits hard. If you want to accomplish great things, you need a firm heart. Mingyu immediately lowers his head and thanks him seriously, not even pretending to be polite, because he knows exactly why he became crown prince. After returning from the palace that day, his father suddenly named him crown prince, gave his mother's family the title of king, and pushed him to the front without warning. No matter how he thinks about it, the only reason he can find is Qin Chen. He also knows something else. Even if he did not show up earlier at the gate, Qin Chen could still solve the problem himself. The only difference is the result would have been much bloodier. In fact, Liu Mu probably thinks the Crown Prince punished him. But Meng Yu knows the truth. He saved his life. Because if Qin Chen had acted personally, Liu Mu might not even have a body left. They walk slowly across the academy square. People everywhere lining up for examination, but Qin Chen doesn't care about any of it. He walks straight toward one of the 4 Saint pillars and stops. Meng Yu immediately stops 10 steps behind him. Yi Ziking and Qin Hai also stop. Nobody asks what he is doing, because by now they all understand. When Qin Chen wants quiet, you give him quiet. He places his hand on the pillar and sighs softly, saying the names of Ming Yuan and Tan Qingqi like he's remembering old troublemakers. In the eyes of the world, those 2 were legendary founders. In his eyes, just 2 kids who used to get beaten by King Yun. Ming Yu hears that and feels his scalp go numb, but he keeps his head down. He already learned. Do not question Qin Chen. Qin Chen turns around and tells him again that now he is crown prince. Every move he makes is watched by the whole empire, so he cannot keep acting timid like before. Then he says enough. Time to finish registration. Inside the academy, the real examination area is much stricter than the gate outside. Name, origin, cultivation, everything recorded. Qin Chen shows Spirit C 3rd level, answers a few questions, and receives the outer court token. The disciple in charge keeps sweating the whole time, because the crown prince is standing next to him like a guard. After finishing, Ming Yu asks where new students stay. The disciple says they are all arranged in the guest area, 7 or 8 people per room. Ming Yu immediately frowns and says that place is too noisy and tells him to arrange a separate place for Qin Chen. The disciple freezes. He doesn't even know how to answer. Qin Chen waves his hand and says it's fine. He is only staying a few days anyway, because the inner court assessment will start soon. Ming Yu still wants to insist, but Qin Chen tells him to go back, then reminds him not to forget what he said about his mother's cultivation. If there is any problem, come find him. Do not try to solve it alone. Ming Yu hesitates, but finally nods and leaves. Not because he thinks Qin Chen is in danger, but because he is afraid someone else will be in danger if Qin Chen gets annoyed. He still remembers what happened in the palace. His 3rd brother died, his uncle lost all cultivation, and his father acts like nothing happened. After leaving the square, Ming Yu calls the commander beside him and orders him to keep an eye on Qin Chen. If anything happens, report immediately. Not to protect him, to protect everyone else. Back inside the academy, Yi Ziking finally asks the question she has been holding. Why help Ming Yu? There are other princes stronger than him, more famous, more talented, more like an emperor. Ming Yu is cautious, not bold, not impressive, not even confident. Qin Chen walks slowly with his hands behind his back and laughs. Nobody is born with emperor aura. What matters is the heart. Then he says the real reason. Ming Yu still has kindness. At the gate, another prince would have killed Liu Mu to show power. Ming Yu only punished him, not to harm him, to save him. Because if Qin Chen moved, he would not stop at beating. He would kill. Yi Ziking suddenly understands. Sometimes the best ruler is not the strongest. It's the one who still knows where the line is. Alright, this chapter finally shows Qin Chen living the real academy life, but of course, with him around, even moving into a dorm turns into trouble. And the craziest part is the trouble always comes looking for him first, like the universe itself wants to test how much patience he has left. After leaving the registration area, Qin Chen walks with Yi Ziking toward the new student residence. She keeps thinking about what just happened at the gate, and the more she thinks, the more she understands one thing. Rules don't exist for Qin Chen. If someone makes him angry, he kills them. Simple, direct, no hesitation. Earlier, if Ming Yu had not arrived, Liu Mu and the others would probably be dead already. Content reference oocyte 0 index equals 0. She suddenly bows slightly and apologizes, saying she failed to protect him properly. Qin Chen stops walking, lifts her chin lightly, and smiles, telling her not to think too much. He reminds her she has a Huan body, something extremely rare on the 9 nether continent, and in the future she might become a legend like Ming Yuan or Tan Qingqi. Then, like always, he ruins the serious mood immediately. He asks when his mate is finally going to make his bed for him. Yi Ziking's face turns red instantly. She is 17, he is 16, and he says things like that with a straight face. Qin Chen laughs and walks forward like nothing happened. Soon they arrive at the residence courtyard for new students. Outer court disciples stay here, but Spirit C level students only stay temporarily before the inner court assessment, so everyone is mixed together. According to the token, Qin Chen finds his room. Building 3, room 465. He pushes the door open. Inside, two people already there. One wearing rough clothes, honest face, immediately smiles and introduces himself as Luke Xuan, also a new student. The other is thinner, pale face, black clothes, sitting quietly on the bed. He only says his name, Yu. The room is big enough. 8 beds along the walls, clean and simple. Not comfortable, but not terrible. Qin Chen and Qin Hai choose 2 beds next to each other. The academy already prepared bedding, so Qin Hai starts arranging his things, while Qin Chen just sits down like a boss. Yu Ziking naturally walks over and starts making his bed for him, calm and careful like it's the most normal thing in the world. Luke Shu and looks at her and almost forgets what he was doing. Sun Yu glances once, eyes flashing slightly, then goes back to silence. Right when everything feels peaceful, the door opens again. A fat teenager walks in carrying a huge pile of mountain goods on his back, wearing beast skin clothes like he just came out of the forest. He laughs loudly and introduces himself as Zhang Xiaoshuai, from a mountain village in Baiyuan County. He drops his bags, shakes hands with everyone, and then suddenly sees Yu Ziking. His eyes go wide. He shouts that the academy service is amazing, even sending a beautiful girl to clean the room. He asks her to make his bed too. Yu Ziking replies with one word, "That lost." Everyone laughs, and the atmosphere becomes relaxed. Zhang Xiaoshuai proudly says he is the best hunter and best cook in his village, and tonight he will cook for everyone. Even Qin Chen nods. He likes this kind of simple person. For a moment, the room feels like a normal student dorm. Then the door opens again. This time, the air changes. A young man in expensive clothes walks in slowly, looking around with disgust, like he just entered a pig stable. Behind him, a servant follows carefully. He says this place is not for people to live in. 8 people in one room? Impossible. He says he will complain to his mother. Then his eyes land on Yu Ziking. And stop! He stares at her without even hiding it. Then he looks at Qin Chen and asks calmly, "That woman is your servant, right? Name your price. This young master will buy her." Alright, this chapter is basically the price of arrogance. And the funniest part is S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T thought he was the one bullying others. But in the end, he got slapped so hard even his big brother almost lost his temper until he saw who was standing in the room. We continue right after S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T says he wants to buy Yu Ziking. Qin Chen looks at her and laughs, asking how much she thinks she is worth. S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T immediately throws out a number. 100,000 gold. He says it like he's buying a horse. Qin Chen turns to Yu Ziking and asks if she agrees. She glares at him. That one looks so charming that everyone in the room freezes for a moment. Qin Chen shrugs and says, "Looks like my servant doesn't want to go." S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T snorts and raises the price. 500,000 gold. He says he doesn't believe his servant could refuse that much money. Qin Chen asks again. Yu Ziking answers with one word, "That lost." Now S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T's servant steps forward, shouting that they don't know who they are talking to. He proudly says the S letter 1 EDF family is the ruler of S letter 1 EDF in Baiyuan County, and the clan leader is a peak spirit sea expert. He calls Qin Chen and the others country bumpkins who don't know Mount Tai. Right at that moment, Zhang Xiaoshuai suddenly gets excited and says he is also from S letter 1 EDF in Baiyuan County, from a mountain village, and happily tries to shake hands with S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T. S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T looks at him like he just stepped on something dirty. He tells him to take his filthy hand away. Says someone from a mountain village is not qualified to make friends with him. The atmosphere in the room turns awkward. Luke Shu and tries to calm things down, saying everyone is roommates now. But S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T laughs and says he will not stay in this broken place anyway. He says his brother S letter 1 EDF and H letter 1 EA1C is an inner court disciple, living in his own building, not like them. Then he looks at Qin Chen again and says he remembers all of them, and during the inner court assessment he will make sure they never pass. Qin Chen smiles slightly and asks, "What if I don't let you leave today?" The room goes quiet. Even Yu Ziking smiles a little. She knows that tone. Someone is about to regret everything. S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T gets angry and throws a punch straight at Qin Chen. Qin Chen doesn't even move his feet. One punch back. Oh! S letter 1 EDFT and KI letter 1 EC7T flies straight into the wall and drops to the floor. Everyone stunned. He is Spirit C second level. Yeah, he lost in one hit. His servant wants to rush forward, but stops halfway, realizing he would die even faster. S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T stands up shaking, face full of bruises, shouting that Qin Chen is finished. Qin Chen walks forward slowly. Up! One clean slap sends him spinning in place. Luke Xu and Zhang Xiaoshuai almost clap again, but quickly stop when S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T looks at them like he wants to kill someone. Qin Chen says calmly that his servant is not something anyone can buy. Right at that moment, footsteps come from outside. Several people enter the room. Leading them is a young man with strong aura. S letter 1 EF Than H letter 1 EA1C. Inner court, disciple. S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T immediately runs to him crying, saying he got beaten. S letter 1 EF Than H letter 1 EA1C's face turns cold instantly. He looks at Qin Chen and says a new student daring to fight in the academy is breaking the rules. Then he says if Qin Chen hands over all his spirit stones, he might let him live. Qin Chen asks innocently, "Didn't you just say fighting is against the rules? Then threatening to kill me is also against the rules, right?" S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C gets angry, about to speak again. Behind Qin Chen, Yiziking finishes making the bed and turns around. She says calmly, "Young master, the bed is ready." The moment S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C sees her face, he freezes. His expression changes completely, because he recognizes her. DI letter 1 EC7P T letter 1 ED-Con. Huan body genius. Inner court, disciple. You family princess. And she just called Qin Chen young master. Alright, this chapter is basically Qin Chen collecting compensation like a professional, and the funniest part is the one who tried to buy his maid ends up paying 5 times the price just to leave the room alive. This is exactly what happens when arrogance meets someone who really doesn't care who you are. We continue right after S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C arrives and sees Yiziking. Even Zun Yu, who barely talks, shows shock on his face now, because everyone in the academy knows the name DI letter 1 EC7P T letter 1 ED-Con. Huang Body, the family princess, one of the most famous geniuses in Heavenly God Academy. And now that same girl is standing in a dorm room, making the bed for Qin Chen. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C quickly bows slightly and greets her politely, asking why she is here and why she is staying with someone so arrogant. Yiziking answers coldly that who she stays with has nothing to do with him. Then she warns him to control his brother better, because in the capital, saying the wrong thing can get someone killed anytime. Content reference OSI 0 index equals 0. Those words make S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C's face turn pale. Before he can speak, S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T shouts angrily, saying his brother should beat her, because he offered 500,000 gold and she still dared to refuse. Alep. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C turns around and hits him so hard his head spins. Everyone in the room freezes. From childhood until now, he always protected his little brother. Now he slapped him in front of everyone. He shouts that this is DI letter 1 EC7P T letter 1 ED-Con of the Yi family, and S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T is not qualified to even talk to her like that, let alone buy her. S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T stands there stunned, not understanding what kind of person he just offended. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C immediately apologizes to Yiziking and says he will take his brother away. But before he can leave, Qin Chen speaks. Just like that. Calm voice. You can't leave yet. Everyone turns. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C frowns and asks what he means. Qin Chen says S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T threatened them earlier, saying they would fail the inner court exam, and that scared him badly. He says his heart is still beating fast, and when he gets scared, his lifespan might get shorter. So he needs compensation. Mental damage fee. The room goes silent. Even Yiziking almost smiles. S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T nearly explodes. He was the one beaten. He was the one slapped. And now Qin Chen says he got scared. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C forces himself to stay calm and says everyone is academy students. There is no need to go that far. Qin Chen looks surprised and says if he really went too far, the one lying on the floor now would be a corpse, not his brother. That sentence makes the air turn cold. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C takes a breath and asks how much. Qin Chen smiles. Not much. 500,000 gold. Exactly the same number S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T used earlier. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C's face turns ugly. This is not compensation. This This is robbery. But Yi Ziking suddenly walks forward and grabs S letter 1 EDF Tiern KI letter 1 EC7T by the collar like lifting a chicken. S letter 1 EDF and H letter 1 EA1C panics instantly. He immediately takes out a stack of gold notes and hands them over. 500,000. Take it. Qin Chen accepts them, checks once, then nods happily and says his heart feels much better now. Only then does S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C dare to take his brother and leave the room without saying another word. Outside the building, the moment they are far enough, his face turns dark. He scolds S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T for being stupid, saying DI letter 1 EC7P T letter 1 ED Khan is someone even the emperor cannot force, and offending her is asking for death. S letter 1 EDF T and KI letter 1 EC7T says he didn't know. Then he asks if they are really going to let this go. S letter 1 EDF Than H letter 1 EA1C's eyes become cold. Let it go. Impossible. He says Yi Ziking he cannot touch. Let Qin Chen. Just Spirit C 3rd level. 10 days later is the Inner Court assessment. All Inner Court disciples will participate, and he is already part of Fuangviren Society, one of the strongest factions in the academy. When that day comes, he will make Qin Chen kneel and spit out every single gold note. Alright, this chapter starts calm but turns serious real fast, because now Qin Chen finally runs into someone who is clearly trying to block him on purpose. And the moment someone messes with his brother, all the joking stops. After leaving the dorm, Qin Chen walks deeper into Heavenly God Academy with Yi Ziking and Qin Hai, asking about the structure of the academy. Yi Ziking explains the hierarchy again. Outer court, inner court, spirit disciples, spirit sons. Above them are elders, and above elders are seated elders, usually spirit soul level experts, the ones who truly control the academy. Qin Chen nods while listening. He even mutters that the rules changed a lot compared to when the academy was first built, but some things still look familiar. He remembers clearly that part of these rules were written by him back then, so now he cannot just ignore them himself. If he breaks them, it would be like slapping his own face. Soon they reach a place called Heavenly Court. This is the area where elders, spirit sons, and spirit disciples live. Normal students are not allowed inside. At the gate, 4 guards stop them immediately. All of them spirit C level, and not weak. One of them asks who they are. Qin Hai quickly takes out the letter from Elder Li Huo and says they were ordered to come here. The guard reads the letter, looks at Qin Chen carefully, then asks his name. Qin Chen answers calmly. The guard snorts and says fine. They will take the letter, and Qin Chen can come back in 10 days. 10 days. The moment those words come out, Qin Hai's face changes. He immediately says his brother is seriously injured, and they cannot wait 10 days because the inner court trial in Ming Mountain will start soon. The guard doesn't care. He says if they cannot wait, they still have to wait. If they try to enter by force, it will be a death crime. Yi Ziking's eyes turn cold. She says with the status of Elder Li Huo, these guards should not dare block them. The guard laughs and says this is Heavenly Court, not the place for her to show off. He even says when she reaches Spirit Platform, then she can talk in front of them. His aura spreads. Spirit C6th level. The other guards step forward too. Qin Chen's eyes narrow slightly. This is wrong. If Elder Li Huo really sent the letter, these guards should not act like this. He asks one question. Who told you to do this? For a moment, the guards hesitate, but then they say nobody told them anything. Qin Chen smiles. That smile makes them feel uneasy. He says if they won't move, then he will go in himself. The guards shout that breaking into Heavenly Court is punishable by death. Qin Chen takes one step forward. Spirit energy gathers in his palm. Share a flame seal. 3 marks appear instantly. The leading guard sneers and uses finger technique to counter. 1 mark explodes. Then the second. Then the third. The guard's face turns white as he spits blood. Before he can recover, Qin Chen moves again and slams his palm down. Crack! The guard's knee shatters and he drops to the ground screaming. Spirit C6th level. Crushed in a few moves by Spirit C3rd level. The other guards freeze. They finally realize something is wrong. Qin Chen steps closer, killing intent rising. He says if they just did their job, he wouldn't care. But taking orders from someone else to block him, that means they chose the wrong side. The guard lying on the ground shouts that this is Heavenly God Academy, and killing him will also mean death for Qin Chen. Qin Chen looks down at him and says calmly, "You think I don't dare?" Spirit energy rises again. The air becomes cold. Right when he is about to strike, a loud shout comes from inside. "Stop!" Several figures walk out slowly from Heavenly Court. Alright, this chapter finally brings out someone who actually has the authority to stop the nonsense, and the moment he appears, the whole situation flips instantly. The guys who were acting like kings a second ago suddenly start kneeling like their lives depend on it, because this time, the person who showed up is not a student, not a guard, but someone who can decide their fate with one sentence. We continue right after Qin Chen breaks the knee of the guard in front of Heavenly Court. The guard screams on the ground, blood all over, while the others freeze in place, not daring to move anymore. Right when Qin Chen is about to finish the job, a voice comes from inside. Stella. Several figures walk out slowly from Heavenly Court, and the moment the injured guard sees them, he starts crying loudly, calling out to senior brother Zuxing. The tall young man in front walks forward with his hands behind his back, face full of cold anger. He asks what happened. The guard immediately points at Qin Chen and says they tried to break into Heavenly Court, and when he stopped them, Qin Chen attacked and crippled his knees. Zuxing turns and looks at Qin Chen and Qin Hai, his eyes full of killing intent. He shouts that this is Heavenly Court, and they dared to cause trouble here, asking if they have the courage of a tiger. Qin Chen waves his hand impatiently and tells him to stop acting. He says they were already working together, so there is no need to pretend. Then he asks directly, "Who sent you? Ling Tian? Or Chu Nangxi?" The moment those names come out, Zuxing's eyes flicker for a second. But he immediately says he is a 9th level Spirit Sea Inner Court disciple and doesn't take orders from anyone. He says according to Academy rules, Qin Chen should at least be expelled. Then he steps forward, saying if necessary he can kill them on the spot, and the Academy will not punish him. Qin Chen looks at him with pure disdain and asks one sentence. "Are you worthy?" That line completely explodes Zuxing's temper. He rushes forward, aura of Spirit Sea 9th level bursting out, ready to crush Qin Chen in one move. But before Qin Chen even moves, bang, Zuxing's body flies backward like he got hit by a wall. Everyone freezes. Because Qin Chen didn't move, someone else is standing in front of him now. A man with long white hair, wearing silver robes, calm expression. But the moment he appears, the air itself feels heavier. Content reference OSite 0 index equals 0. Zuxing struggles to stand and asks who he is. He even says, this is Heavenly God Academy, not a place for random people, and tells him not to think he can do whatever he wants just because he protects his young master. Young master? Qin Chen almost laughs. The white-haired man also looks surprised, but instead of denying it, he just goes along with it and says his young master already showed the letter from elderly Huo. So why were they blocked? The guard on the ground quickly lies, saying there was no letter. The white-haired man says he saw it with his own eyes. Qin Chen immediately understands. This guy is helping him on purpose. Zuxing gets angry and threatens them, saying Qin Chen offended the Heavenly Sun faction, and everyone in the academy knows their power. He even says the Heavenly Sun faction could destroy the Qin family many times over. That sentence makes the white-haired man's expression change instantly. 2 slaps. What? Zuxing spins in place, completely stunned. He shouts that he is from the Heavenly Sun faction. The white-haired man says that is exactly why he hit him. He says as a disciple of the academy, he should respect the academy first, not some faction. At this moment, more people come out from inside Heavenly Court. One of them is Chen Zio, a famous spirit son of the academy, and the moment he sees the white-haired man, he bows immediately and calls him Elder Bai. The guards go pale. Zuxing's face turns white like paper. Core Elder. Only core elders can make a spirit's son bow like that. He drops to the ground and starts begging, saying he didn't recognize him. Elder Bai coldly tells him to get lost and go to the punishment hall himself. Zuxing crawls away in fear, not daring to say another word. Before he leaves, Qin Chen stops him and says calmly, "Tell the one behind you to come himself next time." Playing tricks like this doesn't look like something a genius should do. Zuxing's eyes flash with hatred, but he still runs away. Qin Chen turns to the white-haired man and thanks him. Chen Zio quickly introduces him. Core Elder Bai Zimo. Bai Zimo smiles, looks at Qin Chen carefully, then says something nobody expected. "You are only Spirit Sea 3rd level, but your Spirit Sea is deeper than most people I've seen. Kid, do you want to become my disciple?" Alright, this chapter brings back someone we haven't seen for a while, and at the same time shows that the trouble around Qin Chen is getting bigger. Because now it's not just random students and more people from the Heavenly Sun faction are already planning how to kill him. We continue right after Elder Bai Zimo asks Qin Chen if he wants to become his disciple. Everyone around looks at Qin Chen like they are watching a miracle. A core elder personally offering to take a disciple is something inner court students would fight for their whole life. And Qin Chen just stands there thinking. Then he smiles and says sorry, he is lazy, and he doesn't like being restricted. The moment he says that, Chen Ziro and the others almost choke. What? Not like being restricted? People would kneel for this chance, and he refuses like someone asking him to do extra homework. Content reference OS:0 index equals 0. Even Bai Zemo is surprised for a moment, but instead of getting angry, he laughs loudly. He says this is exactly what Miss Yun told him, that this boy is interesting. Then he points to the side. Outside the gate, under a pavilion, a familiar figure is standing quietly. Yan Xuanyi. Qin Chen looks over and smiles, saying he didn't expect she also came to Heavenly God Academy. She nods and smiles softly. The others around don't understand, but Bai Zemo says if Qin Chen wants to thank someone, he should thank her, because she was the one who told him to come. Qin Chen walks over and asks her the same question he asked before. Have you decided yet? Everyone nearby gets confused. Decided what? Then Qin Chen says it openly. If you become my maid, I can guide your cultivation, and in the future you will become stronger than even the Academy Master, maybe even stronger than Yi Ziking. Yi Ziking rolls her eyes, but Yan Xuanyi just smiles without answering. She already knows this guy talks like that all the time. Qin Chen shrugs and says he never forces people, but after 16, even if she wants to become his maid, he might not accept anymore. He says it like he's the one doing her a favor. Nobody else understands, but in his mind, Yan Xuanyi's body is special. Not spirit body, not saint body, not emperor body, chaos body. A body with almost zero absorption, called useless by most people, but if trained correctly, it can become terrifying. He just doesn't want that talent wasted. Before leaving, Qin Chen suddenly turns back and asks about Bai Zemo. He asks if Bai Zemo is a formation master. Yan Xuanyi says yes, 4th level formation master. Qin Chen nods and says she should tell him one thing. If a 4th level formation master wants to reach 5th level, he must fuse spirit mark and spirit soul naturally. He cannot rely on pills to speed it up. If he forces it, all his formation skill may collapse. He says this calmly and walks away with Yi Ziking and Qin Hai. He doesn't explain. He helped Bai Zemo once, that's enough. Behind them, Bai Zemo walks over and asks Yan Xuanyi what Qin Chen said. When she repeats the words, Bai Zemo laughs at first, saying the boy is interesting. But after laughing, his eyes suddenly change slightly. Because what Qin Chen said is exactly the problem he is facing right now. Still, he shakes his head. How could a 16-year-old know this? Far away, inside the inner court, another conversation is happening. Duxing kneels in front of Chu Ningxi, face swollen, full of hatred. He says if Bai Zemo did not appear, he would have forced Qin Chen to kneel already. Chu Ningxi's eyes turn cold when she hears Qin Chen already reached Spirit C 3rd level. She trained for a month just to reach 2nd level. He surpassed her again. She says this boy must die. Duxing nods and says the inner court trial in Ming Mountain is coming soon. The place is dangerous. Accidents happen all the time. Thousands of inner court disciples will go. If Qin Chen dies, there nobody will suspect anything. Chu Ningxi smiles slowly. That? Very good. If Qin Chen insists on coming to the capital, then Ming Mountain will be his grave. Alright, this chapter hits different. No jokes at the start, no academy drama, no random arrogant young masters. This time, Qin Chen walks into the one place he actually cares about, and the moment he sees his brother, the mood changes completely. After leaving Heavenly Court, Qin Chen doesn't waste time anymore. He takes Yi Ziking and Qin Hai straight to the place where Li Huo Elder lives. Right now, nothing matters more than Qin Chen. S-letter 1 EDF and Gum Thai. Ling Tian, all of them can wait. But if something happens to his brother that cannot be fixed later, they arrive outside a tall building inside the academy. A disciple is guarding the door, and when Qin Hai explains who they are, the guard immediately nods and says Li Huo Elder has been waiting for them for days. That alone makes Qin Chen's heart tighten. Waiting for days means the situation is not good. They enter the building, and the moment the door opens, a strong smell of high-grade pills fills the air. The whole room is full of spiritual energy, thick and heavy, clearly showing that Li Huo Elder has been using precious medicine to keep someone alive. Inside the room, an old man sits beside the bed. His aura is deep but tired, like someone who hasn't rested for a long time. Li Huo Elder. When Qin Chen sees him, he immediately bows. Not because of status, because this man saved his brother's life. Li Huo Elder sighs and says Qin Chen treated him like a father, so of course he would not let him die. Then he steps aside. Qin Chen and Qin Hai walk to the bed, and both of them freeze. The person lying there is barely recognizable. Skin and bones. Face sunken. Veins bulging like roots under the skin. The body looks like it has already half died. Qin Hai's hands start shaking. Qin Chen's eyes turn cold. This is his brother. In this life, this is his real brother. Even though he lived 9 lives, even though he was once the son of the Supreme God Emperor, right now he is Qin Chen. And the man on the bed is Qin Chen. Qin Hai clenches his fists and roars, asking who did this. Li Huo Elder says he is still investigating, but the clue points to Fang Xiu from the Fang Yuan Society. Qin Chen remembers the name, doesn't say anything, just remembers. Then he says the most important thing now is not revenge. It is saving his brother. He takes out 3 pills. Po Ling Pill, Su Ling Pill, Hui Ling Pill. Each one alone is not enough to restore a broken spirit sea, but together they can stabilize the body. He carefully feeds them to Qin Chen one by one, then waits. Slowly Qin Chen's eyes move, then open. Qin Hai almost cries. Qin Chen grabs his hand and smiles, telling him both of them already entered Heavenly God Academy, and this time the 3 brothers will face everything together. Qin Chen looks at them, eyes full of relief. Then Qin Chen says he needs to check his body. He lifts the blanket, and for the first time since waking up his memories, Qin Chen's expression changes. He sends spiritual energy into Qin Chen's body, carefully feeling every meridian, every spirit sea. Then the energy in his fingers begins to twist, forming a shape like a small mountain tower. Qin Chen's eyes narrow. So that's it. Li Huo Elder looks at him and asks if he noticed something. Qin Chen asks calmly, "You already knew, right?" Li Huo Elder nods. Years ago, when he passed Ling Tian City, he felt a strange aura inside Qin Chen's body. Heaven-defying, like the earth itself. That was why he took Qin Chen as disciple, because he believed Qin Chen had a special body. Qin Hai looks confused. Special body? Qin Chen slowly says the answer. Not just special. His brother has a spirit body, and not a normal one. Mountain god body. Li Huo Elder is shocked. He heard of mountain body, but not this. Qin Chen explains that this body is different from normal spirit bodies. It can evolve from spirit body to saint body to king body to emperor body, even to god body. Very few bodies in history can grow like that. That is why it is called mountain god body. Li Huo Elder's eyes shine. That explains why Qin Chen's power kept getting stronger every year. Then he looks at Qin Chen seriously. Can you rebuild his spirit sea? Alright, this chapter slows down the fighting, but the tension is still there, because now Qin Chen finally knows who might be behind his brother's injury. And once that name comes out, you can already tell someone in the academy is going to have a very bad ending. After checking Qin Chen's body, Qin Chen stays silent for a moment, then says he can fix it but not yet. Li Huo Elder immediately asks what else is needed. Qin Chen answers calmly that one more medicinal herb is required, and it cannot be found inside the academy. But 10 days later, the inner core trial will take place in Ming Mountain, and that is exactly where he can get what he needs. Content reference OSI: 0 equals 0. He says during these days, Qin Chen only needs to take the 3 pills once per day to keep his life stable. Then he looks at Qin Chen and promises something very simple. When he comes back, his brother will become even stronger than before. After leaving Li Huo Elder's place, Qin Chen's face turns colder than usual. He asks Yiziking one question. Who is Fang Xiu? She immediately answers. Inner court disciple. Very famous. His older brother Fang Shichang, together with Yuan Gang, formed Fang Yuan Society, one of the strongest factions in the inner court with more than 1,000 members. A small overlord inside the academy. Qin Chen stops walking. Fang Yuan Society. He repeats the name once, then says he doesn't care if they are square or round. But if Fang Shi really hurt his brother, he will beat him to death. At the same time, back inside the building, Qin Chen apologizes to Li Huo Elder, saying he caused trouble for him. He knows clearly how complicated the academy is. From outer court to inner court to heavenly court, every disciple has connections. If Fang Shi dared to attack him, it means he has backing. Li Huo Elder laughs and says he doesn't care who the other side is. If he finds proof, he will skin them alive. Then he suddenly says something interesting. He says Qin Hai's spirit sea is huge, far bigger than normal first-level spirit sea cultivators. And Qin Chen so young, yet already an alchemist, with eyes sharper than many elders. Qin Chen smiles weakly. His 2 younger brothers don't need his protection anymore. They return to the dorm later, and Luke Xuan, Zhang Yu, and Zhang Ziaoshuai look at Qin Chen like they are looking at a monster. They finally asked around. Now they know who Yiziking really is. He family princess, Huan body genius, spirit sea 5th level. And that person is making Qin Chen's bed. Their worldview is completely broken. Qin Hai looks around and notices something strange. There should be 8 people in this room, but now only 5. Zhang Xiaoshuai laughs and says the arrogant guy from earlier ran away, and the other two heard Qin Chen's name and didn't dare stay. Qin Chen laughs and asks if he is really that scary. Everyone says no, but nobody dares look him in the eye. Zhang Xiaoshuai suddenly claps his hands and says tonight he will cook for everyone. He brought a lot of mountain ingredients, and his cooking is the best in his village. Everyone agrees immediately. Qin Chen also nods. He actually likes these people. Simple, honest, not like the ones always plotting. In the evening, they leave the academy together and go to Wine Leaf Restaurant. That place is one of the most luxurious restaurants in the capital, and Zhang Xiaoshuai almost faints when he sees it, asking if one meal here costs a fortune. Luke Shuan laughs and reminds him, "He's psyching is here. Why would they pay?" They enter and the manager greets Qin Chen like welcoming a king, arranging the best private room, even with its own kitchen. Zhang Xiaoshuai gets excited and starts cooking immediately. Not long after, Ling Xiaofai arrives with Xiao King. One girl, one pole. Both run toward Qin Chen happily. He asks Xiaofai how her cultivation is. She proudly says she already opened all 9 gates and formed 9 spirit seas, reaching 9th level spirit sea directly. Everyone else almost falls over. Qin Chen just nods. Because she is not human, she is a divine beast. Then he looks at Xiao King, who is rubbing against him lazily, and scolds him for being useless, saying he is embarrassing the ancestor of Qi Niu. The bull's eyes fill with tears instantly. Everyone laughs. For the first time since arriving at the academy, it actually feels peaceful.